Please listen to Leah. Go ahead, what else? Why do you think it's called a rainforest? It has water and it rains so the animals can breathe. Yes?
Because if there wasn't a jungle where the animals live.
If there wasn't a jungle, where would the animals live? Anybody else? An idea of why it's called the rainforest? Haley? Okay, so lots of talk about animals. And the reason why it's called a rainforest is because it rains a lot and there's lots of trees. Rainforest. What does a forest have?
Trees.
And lots of trees, right? So a rainforest has rain and lots of trees. One tall tree that we will hear about in today's book is called the kapok tree. Everyone say kapok.
Kapok.
Yes, that's the tree we're going to read about in our book today. And you will also see ferns. And if you look at the cover of our book, these are some of the ferns. So you see these green plants on the cover?
Yeah.
Those are ferns. Everyone say ferns.
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 All right, so what do you think of that? Not perfect, right? But do you notice how she's moving to explicit instruction, right? She's repeating what the children have said after they've said it. Notice that she's trying to engage them and she's slowing it down a little bit. Notice that, did you see the pictures on the picture cards? That she's emphasizing and she's helping the children concretize what they are learning a little bit. And finally, did you notice the children's engagement? Right? The children were really engaged. So I want to try another one, next one. Try it again.
What do you know about planets and asteroids? How are they alike?
How do you like that they both go in space?
Oh, they both are in space, and you said they both float around. What's that word, Jessica? That we know. What do planets do? And what do asteroids do? Rudy?
The orbit.
They orbit. They both orbit. Yeah. Now, think about what you've learned about telescopes and space probes. How are telescopes and space probes alike?
Space probes, it's in the earth and it can see to outer space, and telescopes can see outer space too.
Joanna, can you add to that?
But a space probe flies to space and takes photos of space, but it's kind of the same because you can see space, and then through a telescope, you could see all the way in space too.
So they're the same because you can see space from both of them. How are they different? What's different about them?
But I have a question for you, guys. You said that it takes photos, right? But why didn't you say that it flies to take
My heart went to
So can you just add that to what she said? That it also travels into space, where the telescope stays on Earth, doesn't it? And we just look through it. Kimani. Sure.
When you were talking, you said that when you're on the water, you can breathe on when you breathe in, you can still no, I said if you can breathe underwater, water is space. The water would go through your nose.
So what is she saying?
I'm trying to say that.
Let me speak. How can you breathe underwater? Remember when we went to the aquarium and we saw the man who was under the water? He was breathing. What was helping him to breathe? It's someone else's turn. What was helping him breathe? The oxygen. He was wearing a tank on his back with oxygen, and he had on a special suit so that he can breathe. So it's similar in space. The astronauts, when they go into space, they have a special suit, and they have oxygen to help them breathe. Friend, you did a good job. Kiss your brains.
I wanted to show you that for a couple of important lessons. And one of those lessons is, did you see the children, when we give them interesting content, how they learn? I mean, those were kindergarten kids, and they were highly engaged. I also wanted you to hear how patient that teacher was. Did you notice how some of the kids really have difficulty articulating what they're trying to say, right? Those children were really struggling with words, some of them. And she was refining and repeating as she went along. But what happened is she was patient, and she used that think time to really engage those kids. So one of the messages I always want to leave people with, these children are so incredibly capable when we give them a rich and content-rich curriculum. So let me just show you how we can check for their understanding. And again, we're really worried about too much testing in our schools. And so what I do is I say, I want you to test for their understanding, but I want you to do it in a fun way. In other words, maybe not even write it down. Maybe even just take note, examine what you've done, and focus on your teaching. So in other words, we were trying to find out whether children knew the differences between a marine mammal and another fish. And so what we did is we just asked children with our pictures to tell us the difference. So we take a random sample of children in a classroom. We say, let's do a little game and a task, and we check for their understanding in 2-minute bits. And we get a better understanding of whether or not our teaching is sticking. We also, this again, my heart went pity-pat. This was a child who is telling me what he's learning about marine mammals. And this is another example of a child who gives us a sense of progress monitoring. This is another example of progress monitoring, asking children, tell me everything you know about our topic of marine mammals. And you can draw, perform it, write about it in any different way. But the idea is to get at the content that we're trying to teach, not necessarily always the mechanism or the language that children are using. Finally, we build bridges. And in our bridges, what we're always trying to do is connect with parents. And we found that one of our best strategies is a refrigerator note. So this is, the whole idea is we'll take a little note, and we have it in 2 languages, Spanish and Chinese, recognizing that many of our children speak another language. And I want to just highlight why we love refrigerator notes, because every parent loves to feed their kid. I mean, it's a great joy. You ask them, the greatest joy they ever have with children is feeding them. So what we do is we put a refrigerator note and have them remember some of the words. Now, here's what we've learned from this one. Do you notice how many words there are? Right? Too many words. Too many words and not enough bullets. Is there effect of what we're trying to do on children's language? And I want to show you something. These are our children, and now we have data on about 4,000 children. And on the left, you'll see the tree language children. Pause. What do you see? The control children, native English, typical dual language. So the dual language in the control group is doing poorer than the native language. No surprise. But I want to tell you a sad story related to this particular graph. We showed this graph to teachers. We were working in over 55 classrooms in Detroit. And we showed them that the dual language learners were actually growing at a greater rate than our native English speaking. And you know what they said? You're not going to know. You have any idea what they said? Did they say, oh, great, I did a great job? They said, I don't believe it. So one of the things we have to get over is the low expectation many of our people have toward these language learners. Remember when we talked about the cognitive flexibility? When we give children a rich language and literacy curriculum, they will thrive. I want to show you something else. Remember I told you we focus a lot on categorical knowledge. Here is the native English speaker. These are the dual language. They're growing in their understanding of conceptual language. But look at the control and the dual language learners. When we don't provide instruction, this is what happens. And then finally, this is there overall growth on comprehension? Because comprehension has to be our ultimate goal. And again, look at our native English speakers are in comprehension because of background knowledge, they're doing better. But our dual language learners are doing beautifully and growing rapidly. But I want you to know, again, what is happening to the dual language learners when they don't get rich content learning, that they are really falling behind. And because they're often so quiet, we don't know, we don't ask, and we don't challenge that. So we know we can make a great difference. So I want to end by saying, here are the things that will improve children's achievement that we have learned through our work and provide a greater opportunity for them to learn. We've got to enhance our language environment, the actual environment that children are in. We have to stress language and content at the same time. We have to have very high expectations. In our work with children, we have tremendous expectations. These kids, kindergarten kids, talking about oxygen and asteroids. We use instructional design features to enhance student learning, and we create a community of learners. And we also recognize our own vulnerabilities. You know, I go into a classroom and I say, you know what, honey bunches, I'm a monolinguistic learner. I only know one language. So you've got to help me because I'm not familiar with your language. And to have a little bit more sense of our vulnerabilities and what we don't know and what we can learn from these children. And so I end by talking about this great book by Albert Callum. Do you know the book? The book is called The Geranium Just Died, on the windowsill, just died, but teacher, you went right on. And it's a wonderful book if you can get it. It's actually a book for teachers. And basically it says that life is happening, and very often we're stuck in our sort of classroom and aren't recognizing the wonderful growth and development that our children are experiencing. And that too often we diminish our children and we get into a power relationship where the children do feel small. And we have to remember that this is not the way it should be. So the very end of the book has this wonderful phrase that I'll repeat to you. And it says, teachers, come outside. I'll race you to the seesaw. No, teacher, you won't fall off. I'll show you how. Don't be afraid, teacher. Grab my hand and follow me. You can learn all over again. And I think many of us need to learn all over again. We have a different population of our children in our schools, and we should cherish that and be very excited about the potential that these children bring. Thanks so much.